Level 1. You wake up to a quiet you can't afford to ignore. The room is too clean. The silence is expensive. You check your phone out of habit, not messages, numbers, investments, alerts, algorithms humming. You feel an itch, a question lodged behind your teeth. Why them? Why do they stay above the tide? You start like anyone else, hungry, debt-bruised, hopeful. But tonight, the world rearranges itself. A single idea slides into your head. It's not luck, it's not smarts as the commercials sell. It's mechanics, invisible levers. You decide to follow the sound of those levers. You step into the dark of a financial machine. You are allowed in, you are not welcome. Your pulse beats like a stolen thing. Listen. Level 2. They buy time, not with charity, with boundaries. You have 60 seconds to notice the first trick. They own the calendar. Meetings that cost money are scheduled on their terms. Deadlines bend. They trade time for leverage. You keep trading hours for dollars. They buy a morning, then an afternoon, a small fortress of uninterrupted thought. A private hour becomes a compound interest. You watch them refuse calls. You feel the sting. You try it once. You block an hour. You feel richer, not from money, from control. They hoard the quiet. You learn to protect your minutes. You learn to make silence profitable. Level 3. They hide behind structures, legal forms, shells, corporations with names like scapegoats. You imagine them as monsters. They're architects. You were taught to solve every problem yourself. They hire problems out. They place risk in someone else's hands. Insurance, trusts, tax shelters, tools with clinical names. You think of it like armor. You use the shield once. A storm arrives. You see the shield hold. Not magic, design. They don't own everything. They own the right to lose it. Your possessions are sticky. Loss eats into you. They engineer detachment. You build legal rooms where failure can be quarantined. You feel a cold efficiency. They make risk unemotional. You begin to think in layers. They taught you to think in lines. Level 4. Information is a weapon. They don't hoard facts. They weaponize access. You sit in a crowded cafe and watch two worlds. Twitter screams. A private message arrives for them. A different channel. A whisper that actually matters. They subscribe to silence and whispers. They pay for briefings, for research no one publishes. You think public knowledge is power. It is theater for the many. They own the backstage passes. You chase headlines. They chase patterns. You get excited by a trend. They see a decade. They pay people to argue against their assumptions. They force-proof decisions. You realize the battlefield isn't noise, it's the absence of surprise. They buy foresight, you buy hype. Networks are not social, they are infrastructure. You think friends hand out favors, they think of nodes. You are charmed by charisma, they certify capability. Introductions are currency, the right dinner table is an alt account for opportunity. They graft reputations. A handshake becomes a contract written in reputational capital. You worry about resumes. They worry about access lists. You send resumes into the void. They call someone who knows someone who owes them. They don't find jobs. They find doors and open them for themselves. They engineer reciprocity like gravity. You begin to build your own map. You begin to trade favors like stakes. Not everyone will be in. You accept that. You learn to be deliberate about proximity. Level 6. Compound advantage is quiet violence. A small edge expands. You miss one payment, you feel the choke. They miss one payment. A lawyer rearranges the universe. You save 5%. They leverage that 5% into 50% more. You think in increments. They think in engines. Interest compounds on habits. Habits compound on systems. Systems compound on behavior. You watch them buy stakes early, an entry point here, a share there, a whisper in a boardroom. Years later, the whisper is a rule. Your little victories collapse under a slower tide. Their tiny victories amplify each other. You feel fatigue. You realize the race was set long ago, but the rules can be learned. That's the dangerous part. Level 7. They play versions of failure, so failure plays them. They simulate collapse. They stress test reputations, balance sheets, marriages. They place bets that can break them and measure the fallout. You have one life. You are terrified of getting it wrong. They treat life like a laboratory. They lose things on purpose, not to be cruel, to discover where the seams tear. You are careful to be whole. They are careful to be repairable. You tighten your grip on what you own. They diversify what can own them. You collect assets. They collect structures that collect assets. You are brave in the moment. They are braver in the long shadow. Level 8. Now you know. This is the moment the view tilts. The mechanics are ugly and clinical. You feel anger. It's not enough. You feel awe. It's closer. You are at a door. On the other side, rules, patience, cold schedules. Not romance, not a film montage. A ledger, discipline, 1,000 tiny refusals stacked like bricks. You imagine, what if you bought silence? What if you hired a lawyer before a crisis? What if you learned systems, not hacks? What if you kept the right company deliberately? You taste the shape of strategy. It is tasteless, efficient. You begin a list. First, protect your time. Second, separate risk from person. Third, buy information before you act. Fourth, invest in contacts who work in patience. Fifth, let small ledges compound. You write them like vows. They feel heavy. You swallow. You practice refusal. You refuse urgency that isn't yours. You refuse to be the only one carrying risk. You refuse to be surprised. Finale. You stand at a cliff. Below, your life as it was. Above, a platform made of choices. Nothing mystical separates you from them. Only systems, only patience, only the willingness to structure your life like an engine. You exhale. The air tastes colder. You step forward. You will be clumsy. You will be scared. You will fail in small, controlled ways. Each failure will teach where to build a wall. You will be tempted to call it unfair. Say the word and feel it leave your mouth. Then get to work. There is no moral judgment here. There is only cause and effect. The rich stay rich because they make advantage permanent. You can make advantage permanent too. In quiet, in layers, in contracts and boundaries. You are not promised ease. You are promised leverage. You take it, you keep it, you become, slowly, terrifyingly, consistent. You close the door behind the old you. Outside, the night is patient. Inside, a plan begins.